crucifixion, fountains open deep and wide, through the floodgates of God's mercy, flowed a vast and gracious tide, grace and love like mighty rivers, poured incessant from above, and heaven's peace and perfect justice kissed the guilty world in love.
Good morning and shalom. I'm so glad to be here with you today on Friday, July 15th. Good morning, Asia. So glad to see you here. Today, I wanted to talk about something all of us have to be able to do, and that is to reason with one another, and how the Father would like us to be able to reason with one another. Now, I'm not saying I'm great at it. I surely have not always been great at my ability to reason, and I think a lot of why we all have difficulties with it is the fact that to be able to reason is to have complete control of your emotions. I'm going to share my screen here. And I love this picture that I found because it definitely, let me make it a little bigger. It definitely exhibits the conflict that we have in our ability to reason. We've got our brain, which is like we saw yesterday. If you saw the teaching with Shell and I on Heart of the Tribe, we were talking about Issachar and the fact that that tribe relates to our nervous system, which is our brain, our reasoning, our ability to have memory and communicate. And they had a burden with that knowledge. So we see reasoning involves your brain, but then it also involves your heart. And a lot of times we have difficulty because of our heart and our emotions, right? We are very visceral type people in the fact that usually we react out of emotions prior to using our reasoning ability. So I just wanted to share. I looked up in the Greek, logismos is reasoning, and it is a reasoning, a thought, thinking, a conception, a device. I found that interesting because sometimes our reasoning, we can use it as a device against others, and that's not a good thing. Over here, we also saw reasoning the opposite, I think, is speculations, imaginations, and arguments. That is when we are allowing our emotions to take hold, excuse me, and not our ability to reason with our mind. Let me get down here. Excuse me. Every time I get on, my throat wants to make me cough. So in Strong's, I looked up also responsibility, and I do see it's kind of cut off here, but the reason I looked up responsible is it is our responsibility in how we reason with one another. And to be responsible is held in, bound by, liable. You're liable for how you're communicating with others, and your either ability to reason or lack thereof. Just interesting to look at and keep in mind, because there is a lot of unreasonable things going on right now in the world, right? We can't even, most people in our government and the higher ups can't even decide what a woman is, and that is unreasonable. So we're having to reason our way through a climate that is exactly the opposite of reason. And dealing with people that are just unreasonable, and they're going to come at you with that unreasoning. So here we are looking at reasoning and responsibility. Like I said, it is our responsibility within us. Reasoning is to control one's emotions while discussing a matter of disagreement or conflict. We must control our flesh, right? We have to control ourselves. That's literally the only thing we can be in control of is ourselves and how we react. Our emotions, we're to have self-control. Reasoning is an aspect of that self-control, right? Responsibility implies you own your actions, whether they are logical and reasonable or unreasonable. There is no excuse to be unreasonable. And a lot of people will try to tell you, I'm allowed to act like this because I've been wronged, or because I've had a hard life, or I'm coming from a place where this is just how people dealt with me. We have that responsibility. Even Job attempted to reason with Yahweh in Job 13:6. Hear now my reasoning and hearken to the pleadings of my lips. Like, he was reasoning through his pain, right? So lack of reason explained. There's so much I could have pulled out just for dealing with reasoning. And you're going to see after Galatians, we're going to go into Maccabees. And I've noticed every week on Heart of the Tribe, what we start usually ends up coming out in every single show. And you'll see when I go to the Maccabees how it ties in. Nita did a wonderful job on Tuesday on our Walking in the Word, discussing Hannah, the mother of the seven, in Maccabees, and her strength and their faith was just amazing. Good morning, Catherine and Brother Leigh. So glad to see you here. So I'm going to read Lack of Reasoning Explained. And I put that title because I think these things have a lot to do with the climate of unreasonable behavior that we're seeing, and people's unreasonableness in talking with one another. Excuse me, just 1 second. Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies, envyings, murderers, drunkenness, reveling, and such like, of the which I tell you before, as I have also told you in time past, that they which do these things shall not inherit the kingdom of Elohim. So our unreasonableness comes from having these works of the flesh that we have to get away from and get rid of. Shell even brought up when she was talking about Mary Magdalene and how the seven ruachots were cast out of her, that they very well could have been representative of the seven deadly sins, right? And those within us inhibit our ability to reason. And the reasoning explained is next in Galatians 5:22-23. But the fruit of the Ruach is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law put in place. So that's how we reason. We have to always exhibit and have within us the fruit of the Ruach. And when you get up every day and you put on your armor and you've got everything in line, the main thing you need to put in yourself before dealing with anyone else is the fruit of the Ruach. I've said it before. If you guard yourself and you place these things within you, it's impossible to be unreasonable. Even if your reason is to just walk away from someone being unreasonable, you have a choice. We have a choice in our actions. We truly do. Yahweh speaks to us about reasoning in Yeshayahu in Isaiah 1:16-18. Wash yourselves, make yourself clean, put away the evil of your doings from before my eyes. Cease to do evil, learn to do well, seek judgment, relieve the oppressed, judge the fatherless, plead for the widow. Come now and let us reason together, says Yahweh. Though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be white as snow. Though they be red like crimson, they shall be wool. He's asking us to think logically and control ourselves, control our emotions. And we're going to see more on this in the Maccabees, like I said. When my husband James and I read through Maccabees, this part I'm going to read, and it might be a little lengthy, but it's very important in Maccabees, and it truly explains what reasoning is. So, for Maccabees 1 through 9. As I'm going to demonstrate a most philosophical proposition, namely that observant reasoning is absolute master of the passions, I would willingly advise you to give the utmost heed to philosophy. For reason is necessary to everyone as a step to science, and more especially embraces the praise of prudence, the highest virtue. If then reasoning appears to hold the mastery over the passions which stand in the way of temperance, such as gluttony and lust, it surely also and manifestly has the rule over the affections which are contrary to justice, such as malice, and of those which are hindrances to manliness, as wrath and pain and fear. There we see that talk about fear. James had an awesome mercy poured forth on Wednesday talking about fear and what we can do to combat that, and what it does to us and our spirit, our ruach. So we see here being unreasonable can cause these other things that we don't want to manifest, right? So in verse 5 continues, how then is it, perhaps some may say, that reasoning, if it rule the affections, is not also master of forgetfulness and ignorance? They attempt a ridiculous argument. Wow. For reasoning does not rule over its own affections, but over such as are contrary to justice and manliness and temperance and prudence, and yet over these so as to withstand without destroying them. I might prove to you from many other considerations that observant reasoning is sole master of the passions. So to be able to reason, you have to be able to control your emotions. Verse 8, but I shall prove it with the greatest force from the fortitude of Eleazar and the 7 brethren and their mother who suffered death in defense of virtue. For these contending pains, even unto death, by this contempt demonstrated that reasoning has command over passions. We are surrounded constantly by unreasonable situations of people. We do not have to lose our reason to stand up for ourselves. It is only our responsibility to exhibit the fruit of the Ruach, to exhibit the grace of Yahusha HaMashiach. So I hope that I have kind of helped you shine a light on why reasoning is important, and what we're actually exhibiting when we're not reasonable. And I know that we're bombarded daily by people and situations that very much are unreasonable, and they drive up your emotions, and they make you react from a place of those emotions. But through yahuah and through prayer, how I think the best steps when dealing with those situations where we need to reason with someone, we need to be able to listen to them, and we need to be able to listen with our heart and with compassion. And then we have to make a decision if we're going to be able to reason with them. And if they're not, there's no reason in arguing. That's when you walk away and you accept, I have to maintain myself. You're only responsible for yourself and your actions, and you cannot control another person's reasoning or lack thereof. So sometimes walking away is the best thing you can do, but you do it with love and kindness and humility. We are to always be humble, and we are always to love. And I know that that's so hard to do when someone's, all over you with complete unreasonable behavior, right? It's easy to lash back out, but like I've said before, hurt people. So we have the Father, we have the Ruach to guide us. So that moment of listening, maybe you can step back and pray, Father, give me the words that I need to say. I see Catherine says they experienced this today. I'm sure. I feel like I experience it on the daily as well. Just from going to a vet to dealing with our animal that was very sick that we had to put down. There's a lot of unreasonable people that you have to deal with. But guess what? The Father loves them the same as he loves you. So the very least we can do is to be kind and loving and gentle with those people and know when to walk away instead of lashing back out. Just simply agree to disagree and let it go. That's just absolutely the best thing we can do. And I really hope and pray that you can carry the love of the Father through with you this weekend. Going into Shabbat. Today is prep day. Later today, I'm so excited that Blood and the Lamb is going to be on at 3:30. Is it 3:30 Eastern? 4:30 Eastern. I'm so excited about that because it really kicks off our Shabbat and gets us ready for where we need to be spiritually within our ruach and calmness just for our day. And then tomorrow is Let's Talk Torah, and that'll be with Brother Leigh Hood and Robert. And so thankful for those on our Shabbat. And I hope everyone got to see our show on Between the River and the Ravens last night. That was over Shabbat. I thought it was very good, and there's a lot of information in there for you. And so I'm going to just leave you with a blessing today, praying blessings over you and for your rest and for your shalom. And I thank you so much for joining me. I've had such a great time talking with you about having reasoning. So with that, I'm going to say shalom and have a great day.
On the mount of crucifixion, fountains open deep and wide. Through the floodgates of God's mercy, flowed a vast and gracious tide. Grace and love like mighty rivers poured incessant from above, and heaven's peace and perfect justice kissed the gift